Welcome back. We start off this segment in Tanzania, where Petro Diamonds Limited has halted production at its mine in Tanzania after the government seized a parcel of diamonds suspected of being undervalued as a dispute between the state and foreign-owned mining companies widens. Employees of the Johannesburg-based company are cooperating with the authorities in the East African nation who are investigating a shipment of 71,654 carats of gems that was blocked from export to Petro's offices in Antwerp. Tanzania had threatened to nationalize the consignment after the government found the parcel of gems was worth more than the company said it was. Tanzanian President John Magufuli is overhauling the mining industry as the government targets doubling its contribution to gross domestic product to 10% by 2025. And the boards of West Africa-focused Avocet Mining and its Société de Mines de Belahor (SMB) subsidiary will resume talks on Friday aimed at saving the struggling gold operation from insolvency. SMB, which operates the Inata gold mine in Burkina Faso, is struggling to keep the mine operating after former workers seized a shipment of gold last year and faces possible insolvency after the expiry of a freeze on loan repayments. The boards of SMB and Avocet, which owns 90% of the Inata mine, were to meet on September 8 to consider all available options. However, Avocet says a meeting would reconvene on September 15 to reassess the status of talks with creditors, SMB's liquidity position, and the available options. The Inata mine produced 72,485 ounces of gold in 2016. And Mauritius is to provide foreign currency support to its sugar and other export-oriented sectors to cushion them against the impact of a strong rupee. Businesses have been calling on policymakers to intervene over recent weeks after export revenues fell 8% to 20.5 billion rupees year-on-year in the 6 months to end June. The Ministry of Finance said it will set a minimum support of 2.50 rupees per dollar, and the scheme would start on September 11 and run for 6 months. Under the program, sugar planters and millers will be provided with a financial support of 1,250 rupees per ton of sugar. On Wednesday, the Bank of Mauritius slashed its key repo rate by 50 basis points to try to stimulate the Indian Ocean Islands economy. And in Kenya, ride-hailing app Little, set up a year ago to challenge Uber, has now grown to a network of 2,000 drivers offering an average of 10,000 rides daily. It is already on ground in Nigeria, where it plans to start services in a month's time. The company is also introducing an electric bus service in Nairobi, which will allow users to book their commute using the Little application on their mobile phones. Let's watch this.
It's been a year since Lily Maruki signed up with Kenyan ride-hailing company Little, a local taxi call platform that seeks to compete with Uber. With a return of between $266 and $400 a week, Maruki is amongst the growing number of Kenyan drivers who are joining Little. Little, which has a partnership with telecoms operator Safaricom, plans to scout for an investor in Silicon Valley next year to help it expand across Africa. The one-year-old app has grown to challenge Uber for the top spots in the local market. Little has close to 5,000 drivers who can offer 12,000 rides a day in peak times.
I think that the journey has been good for last 1 year. We have learned a lot of things. For us, it was a new business, so we also took some time to learn a few things. But it has been very good. We have introduced a lot of new features. I think you must understand why we have done this is because we are competing with some of the bigger players. And when you compete with bigger players, if you want to win, you can't win them on a capital. You can only win them on innovation. So that's where we have always been focusing on, coming up with innovative new things.
Little's parent company, Nairobi-based software developer Craft Silicon, has invested $6 million in the app. It plans to start operations in Nigeria in a month's time. Little also plans to start offering rides using motorcycles. It's also imported an electric bus that will offer shuttle services on set routes in Nairobi, a city clogged by traffic and pollution, allowing little users to book their rides on the application.
I requested the little cabs because you can request a woman. You can also go by 20 shillings per kilometer, which I find cheaper. You can also use the SOS cab, which is the security feature, which is also very, very efficient for me.
Other features include free Wi-Fi in all the cabs and inbuilt electronic wallet offered in conjunction with Safaricom on the M-Pesa money transfer platform.
And in Egypt, in an effort to slow its population growth rate, that country is pushing to educate people on birth control and family planning. The president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, says the growth rate poses a threat to national development. The country is almost the most populous in the Arab world, with 93 million citizens, and is set to grow to 128 million by 2030 if fertility rates of 4.0 births per 1,000 women continue.
According to the country statistics agency, in 2016, Egypt saw the birth of 2.6 million babies. Egypt's health minister last month started Operation Lifeline, a strategy to reduce the birth rate to 2.4 and save the government up to 200 billion Egyptian pounds by 2030. Its target is rural areas where many view large families as a source of economic strength, and there's resistance to birth control because of religious belief.
If we're going to talk about the importance of family planning, I think it's now one of the main points the government should start addressing. First, on a personal level, families, especially fathers, must think many times before they give birth, and this makes birth control extremely important for them, like water and air. Of course, on the national level, I think this is the first step, and we should slow down because we must limit population growth.
Ousted President Hosni Mubarak and his wife Suzanne set up a population control program decades ago, but this is the first time the government says it's motivated by concern that rapid expansion saps the economy. Inflation has surged in Egypt to record highs over the past year after the country floated its currency in November, a move which drove down the value of the pound. That drop created a shortage of medicines in pharmacies across Egypt, as scores of products, including contraceptives, become unprofitable to produce or import. In line with government's plans to reduce reliance on imports, the ministry contracted Astema International, a subsidiary of a privately owned Arab company for drug industries and medical appliances, to source locally produced hormonal contraceptives.
خط الأقراص الطاقة بتاعته بينتج مليار قرص في السنة.
It is the only country that owns a factory for producing hormone-based drugs, so we expect to begin exporting to many markets during the next period. We have made a factory that can fulfill Egyptian demands for hormone-based drugs, and any excess amount is exported.
The deal saves the government millions of dollars and covers 65% of local demand.
And finally, in South Africa, that country is in danger of missing its 1.3% growth target in 2017 due to poor performance of major sectors of the economy that will likely restrain tax revenues. The Finance Minister, Malusi Gigaba, says current level of growth is simply insufficient and not enough. With growth and revenues expected to underperform and analysts predicting a budget shortfall of as much as 50 billion rand, the deficit is unlikely to come down, raising the risk of credit downgrades deeper into junk territory. And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwago.